Welcome to Bike Club, the channel where we bring you the latest updates, reviews, and detailed insights about military technology, bikes, vehicles, and much more from around the world. Today, we are diving deep into a very interesting topic: the Sri Lanka 2025 tank. This is not just a weapon of war, but a symbol of how a country like Sri Lanka is slowly but surely stepping into modern defense capabilities. In this video, we are going to explore everything about this tank, from its design, specifications, technology, to its price in the USA and global market comparisons, so stay tuned till the end because we have a lot to uncover. Let's start from the very beginning. Sri Lanka is not traditionally known as a country that builds or manufactures heavy military equipment like tanks. For decades, the Sri Lankan army relied heavily on imports, particularly from Russia, China, and Pakistan. The country's defense strategy was mostly based on light armored vehicles and imported equipment to deal with insurgencies. But in recent years, Sri Lanka has been moving towards a different vision, creating self-reliance in defense. The Sri Lanka 2025 tank is part of that vision. It is designed with international collaboration but carries a unique Sri Lankan identity. Now, the design of the Sri Lanka 2025 tank is something that makes it stand out. When you first look at it, you will notice that it borrows elements from both Russian and Chinese tank designs. The turret is compact and angular, much like the T-90, but the body has a low-profile design for better concealment. Inspired by Chinese armor projects, Sri Lankan engineers, with support from foreign experts, aimed to create a machine that is not too bulky but still powerful enough to handle modern battlefield requirements. Under the hood, this tank is powered by a 1200 horsepower turbocharged diesel engine that gives it a maximum speed of around 70 km per hour on roads and around 50 km per hour on rough terrains. Sri Lanka's geography played a big role in this design choice. Unlike Europe or deserts of the Middle East, Sri Lanka has jungles, hills, and coastal plains. So the tank had to be mobile, lightweight, and agile enough to move quickly through these terrains. The armor is one of the highlights of the Sri Lanka 2025 tank. Instead of going for heavy armor plates which would slow it down, the designers opted for composite armor with an active protection system. This means the tank can detect incoming missiles or rockets and intercept them before impact. It's a smart approach, because rather than depending on thickness alone, the tank uses technology to survive. Coming to the weaponry, the Sri Lanka 2025 tank is equipped with a 125mm smoothbore gun. This is standard for most modern tanks, and it allows the use of a wide variety of ammunition, including high-explosive, armor-piercing, and even guided missiles. The secondary armament includes a 7.62mm coaxial machine gun and a 12.7mm heavy machine gun mounted on top of the turret for anti-aircraft or drone defense. Drones have become a serious threat in modern warfare, and the Sri Lanka's engineers were smart enough to integrate counter-drone features in the design. The fire control system is digital and uses thermal imaging, laser rangefinders, and night vision capabilities. The crew of 3, commander, gunner, and driver, benefit from a highly automated system. This reduces human error and increases the accuracy of firing. With these systems, the Sri Lanka 2025 tank can engage targets effectively even in complete darkness or foggy conditions, which is very important in tropical climates. Another interesting point about this tank is the communication and battlefield management system. The tank is fully networked, meaning it can connect with drones, command centers, and other armored vehicles in real time. In modern warfare, information is power, and the Sri Lanka 2025 tank gives its crew the ability to share and receive critical data instantly. Now let's talk about the cost, because price always becomes a hot topic when it comes to military hardware. Sri Lanka is not a country with unlimited defense budgets, so affordability was a big concern. The Sri Lanka 2025 tank has been developed with cost-effectiveness in mind. On the international market, especially in the USA, the price of one Sri Lanka 2025 tank is estimated to be between $4.5 to $5 million. To give you a comparison, an American M1A2 Abrams tank costs around $9 million per unit. Russian T-90 tanks are priced at around $4.5 million, and Chinese VT-4 tanks cost about $5 million. So the Sri Lanka 2025 tank is placed in a very competitive price bracket, For a small country to produce a tank that competes at this price point is a remarkable achievement. Why does the price matter so much? Well, because tanks are not bought in single units. Armies purchase them in batches of dozens or even hundreds. If a tank is cheaper but reliable, it becomes an attractive option for countries with limited defense budgets. Sri Lanka may not be aiming to export this tank in large numbers immediately, but by offering a low-cost yet modern machine, it has the potential to attract buyers in Asia and Africa. The Sri Lanka 2025 tank also has an important political angle. By creating this tank, Sri Lanka is showing the world that it is capable of defense innovation. It sends a message of self-reliance and sovereignty. The country wants to reduce dependence on imports, and this project has become a matter of national pride. Let's imagine how this tank would perform in real combat scenarios. Sri Lanka itself does not face large-scale land invasions, but in the event of regional conflicts, having a modern tank fleet boosts deterrence. The Sri Lanka 2025 tank would be ideal in defensive roles, quick strike operations, and peacekeeping missions. Because of its mobility and relatively lighter weight compared to Western tanks, it can be transported more easily across rivers and rough terrains. But of course, no tank is perfect. Critics have pointed out that while the Sri Lanka 2025 tank is affordable and modern, it still lacks the heavy armor protection of tanks like the Abrams or Leopard does. This means in a direct confrontation against those machines, the Sri Lanka 2025 would rely heavily on tactics, speed, and its active protection system. However, for Sri Lanka's strategic needs, the balance of cost, mobility, and firepower makes sense. Another challenge is production numbers. Sri Lanka does not have a massive defense industry like Russia or China, so producing these tanks in large numbers might take time, but even a small batch of 100 to 150 tanks could give the Sri Lankan army a completely new capability. When we think about price in the USA, many defense analysts see this as an interesting case study. Would the United States or Western allies ever consider such a tank? Probably not for their own forces, since they have more advanced options. But the Sri Lanka 2025 tank could still become a low-cost alternative for allies or for export markets that cannot afford Western tanks. Now let's look at the future. Sri Lanka's defense ministry has already hinted that future variants of this tank may include hybrid engines for reduced fuel consumption, even stronger drone defense systems, and possibly an unmanned version where the tank can be controlled remotely. These innovations could increase the price slightly, maybe pushing it to $6 million per unit, but they would also make the tank more competitive globally. For viewers in the USA, the Sri Lanka 2025 tank is an example of how smaller nations are catching up in defense technology. While American tanks remain the most powerful and advanced, Sri Lanka is showing that even developing countries can innovate with limited resources. So to wrap this up, the Sri Lanka 2025 tank is a modern, affordable, and strategically smart machine. It may not be the heaviest or the most powerful tank in the world, but it reflects a big step forward for Sri Lanka. With an estimated price of $4.5 to $5 million in the USA market comparison, it stands shoulder to shoulder with Russian and Chinese tanks. It is a mix of mobility, technology, and affordability designed for Sri Lanka's needs but with potential global relevance. Thank you for watching this deep dive into the Sri Lanka 2025 tank. Don't forget to subscribe to Bike Club for more updates on military technology, vehicles, and global defense news. Let us know in the comments what you think about Sri Lanka's new tank. Do you think it can compete in the international market, or will it remain a national project? Your opinion matters. See you in the next video. Do you also want me to create 5 clickbait titles, a description, and hashtags for this video like I've done in your other requests?